All right. So I know we've already talked about Angie and Steve, and there's like a million characters in this RP that we could be talking about right now. However, okay, it's the 26th as of recording this, and I've got like a bit of a lisp going on because I hurt my tongue. And yeah, so Angie and Steve, this RP, this lesbian lifestyle RP is like really intense right now for all of our characters, and like I'm all ready to talk about like the intenseness of like what is going on. However, it is also the holidays right now for me, and I'm not feeling like talking about all the horrific, terrible stuff that's happened to the other side characters in this RP. So we're going to focus on Steve and Angie because that's what we've been RPing, because what happens around like the holiday time for me and Ursula is we start doing holiday RPs. We do themed RPs to like get in the mood, and they tend to be really like romancy and like fluffy. That said, this is also like not super romantic and fluffy. There's been a lot of romance and fluff in between all of the craziness that's been going on. But I figured we should talk some more about Steve and Angie, also because I know some of you one of you at least wanted to see Steve drawn, so there you go. Have them cuddling together. It's cute. It's about 75% of what they do all the time. I guess we're gonna talk a little bit about some updates on Steve and Angie. Like updates, like they're like actual people. I don't know, whatever. Okay, so we're gonna talk a little bit about what they're up to as of now. It's been a few days since the last, thing went up, so there's been a lot of RPing. And we're gonna talk about some corrections to things that Ursula said, because she was wrong, because she stole my character from me and talked about her without even knowing what was going on. How dare she? So one correction I have, Ursula said in the last video about Angie, that cursed people, in order to get uncursed, they need to try the ritual again, and if they do it wrong, they get extra cursed. This is untrue. This is completely untrue. Otherwise, the whole RP wouldn't work. So, yeah. You don't have to do the entire ritual again. You just need to complete the criteria that was missing when you did the final thing in the ritual. So, like, in the case of, like, our main characters, they did their ritual and they kiss at the end, but they didn't reach all the criteria. So now they have to try kissing again, and this time meeting the criteria while doing so. And if someone is 100% cursed, it just means that it's physically impossible for them to ever meet the criteria or perform the ritual again, and that's why they become stuck cursed forever. If you do the ritual again and you fail at it, nothing happens to you. You just don't become uncursed. You don't get any more extra cursed at all. That's that. She was just getting confused because Angie has to do a ritual in order to uncurse her baby, but that's just another ritual on top of the one that's already kind of failed on her. So another thing Ursula didn't quite, do correctly, or at least know about Angie, is that the reason that she became cursed wasn't because, like, a guy said no to her at the dance. She went to her middle school prom, right? her homecoming, or whatever it is you do in middle school. She did a ritual, a very strong ritual, and yes, she did steal the artifact from her grandma, and yes, that did cause some troubles, because, it meant the curse was going to be very strong, or the blessing was going to be very strong. And she just wanted to be cute and popular, and that's what a blessing could do for her. It can't make someone fall in love with you. But in order to complete the blessing, she needed to dance with her true love at an important event. And so she danced with a boy at a middle school dance, and that did not reach the criteria that the gods wanted to complete the ritual, so in the end she was cursed. If she had actually gone to a very important dance and danced with the love of her life there, she totally would have become uncursed, but she didn't. So now she has to wait until there is an important dance in her life, and dance with like her soulmate, basically, in order to unbreak her curse. And so dances of all kinds have been very stressful for her forever, and no one asked her to prom in high school, and it very much devastated her, and she's kind of given up on the idea entirely, but she also holds out hope. Those are the corrections to what Ursula said, but mostly she's right about all the things. Those just needed to be cleared up, I guess. So what have Steve and Angie been up to? Okay, so it's Christmas for us, and it's Christmas for them, because we like the cuddly RPs. And so Angie and Steve have been doing Christmas shenanigans together. They've been doing all sorts of kissing and cuddling and all that such things, and they've been prepping to meet each other's parents, basically, because it's Christmas time. It's a perfect time to meet all of the relatives at once, because they're kind of realizing that if they're going to stay together, it's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of pressure to it. That's the main conflict they're kind of dealing with, is that they have to move kind of fast, because Angie, she wants Steve to either kind of like stay in her life or like not by the time the baby arrives, because she doesn't really want him to like nope out when her baby's like young and like impressionable and could be traumatized by losing like the second father figure in her life, I guess. Like, that's how Angie's like putting it together. Her one dad already doesn't really want her. She doesn't want to like be dating Steve, and then like when the kid grows up older or whatever, is like, oh, that guy's gone now too, you know, even though you're like a baby, it still probably kind of matters, I guess. I don't know. I'm sleepy. Give me a break here. But yeah, so she wants to just kind of like speed through a lot of like the dating things. And Steve at first is very like shocked by this, but also he's like, okay, that sounds kind of like it makes sense a little bit. They have a lot to work on here. The first Christmas they go to is Angie's Christmas. Angie's family lives out of the way, and so they have to drive all the way down to meet them. And so Angie has made the mistake of like not telling her parents like anything. That was bad on her part, but like, like you shouldn't freak out too much. Like she basically says that she's bringing her boyfriend down for Christmas. That's it. She doesn't really mention like the pregnant thing, because she doesn't want to like deal with that one. She's been putting it off. Like, that's Angie. She always is putting things off when she shouldn't, and speeding things up when she shouldn't, I guess. So she goes to her family Christmas, and basically it's the worst Christmas ever. She goes there and she breaks the news to her parents that she's having a baby, and they're like, oh, is it with this guy? Like, how long have you been dating? And she's like, no, it's not with that guy. And then they're like really upset with her about that, and they want her to be with the father of the baby. And they're kind of mean to Steve and send him off to make dinner with Angie's sister, so that they can kind of like berate Angie alone. And, Steve is not happy about this. And eventually they calm things down like a little bit for like a fraction of a second. And then Angie's grandmother shows up. And Angie's grandmother is like the witch that she stole the artifact from. And Angie's grandmother learns that Angie's pregnant, and then is like, oh, you can't have a cursed baby. That's terrible. And then Angie's parents are like, wait, what? Your baby is cursed? And that's kind of like the last straw with them. And they're like, you can't have a cursed baby. And she's like, well, I'm going to. And they're like, no, like, you need to like not have the baby. And she's very upset about this, because, she wants the baby and likes the baby. She's made her decision already, and they're like, you don't want like cursed people around. And of course, like, Angie, who's grown up like cursed since she was like in middle school, is understandably offended by this, because they basically like just don't want her baby, their grandchild, I guess, to be like her. So yeah, that's painful. Like, Angie's family is basically never forgiven her for getting cursed in the first place. They're kind of like, you made a horrible mistake and we'll talk to you when you fix this. And they kind of refuse to believe that she's like trying to fix it at all. Yeah. Anyways, so she ends up crying and Steve is like, heck all of this. And he goes with Angie and they kind of like storm off. And Angie feels bad and Steve feels bad and Angie's sister also feels bad and doesn't want to stay with her parents after the big fight. So Christmas is pretty ruined. And so they head home all the way and Angie doesn't really want to talk about it. She just kind of spends the rest of like her Christmas like in her room crying, being sad, texting her sister a little bit. And Steve is like, dang, I should like help her out. And he talks to Maura, who is like Angie's cursed friend, but like Maura is like, yeah, those guys are jerks, you should do something to make everything not terrible. And so Steve decides to like make Christmas happen with his family and is like, hey, mom and dad, I didn't tell you this either, but I'm dating a girl. She's cursed and she's going to have a baby. And they don't react to this well either because they're like, wait, what? You're not even like out of school? You can't be part of this. Find another girlfriend. And he's like, wow. That's mean, Mom. And to make matters worse, he also asked them for money to buy her a present. And it's like Boxing Day when he's asking this, and they're like, are you really seriously saying that you're in love with this girl that like is like cursed, gonna have a baby, you're planning on helping raise the baby, and you didn't even like buy her a Christmas present? Like, you can't even like afford a Christmas present for her. That's a thing that we need to deal with the whole like Steve thing. Conflict is good for a story. I don't know, I'm rambling. Either way, him and his mom do a bunch of fighting over this. He ends up going with Maura and buying Christmas presents for Angie. He gets her like a necklace and like pillows, because pillows are great. I think at some point they also went like shopping for like maternity clothes or something. I forget that part. I think maybe she went with Maura. There was something cute that happened. And then Steve and like Angie go to like the Christmas thing, and it's pretty bad at first, and Angie really doesn't want to be part of it. She's kind of like written Christmas off at this point. She's like, this year sucks. Let's just stop. We're done. We're not doing this anymore. Steve really doesn't want this to be true, and like Steve's parents kind of like interrogate Angie some more, and Angie ends up crying again, and eventually Steve is like, can we just like put all of this aside right now and just like have a normal Christmas? Can we do this? And his parents eventually are like, yeah, we're being kind of like bad right now. We'll deal with all like the big stuff around this later. And besides, it's kind of like your thing to deal with, and we're sorry. And then they go and they have Christmas, and the day is saved, kind of. There's still lots of plot that needs to continue on. However, Angie doesn't have to have like the worst Christmas time ever. And yeah, they've just been being cute, basically. Not much extra to it. I don't know, just fluff RPs. And like I said, like I'll get into the other stuff because a whole bunch happened on the winter solstice to another character that we haven't even mentioned at this point, who's like the crux of the story. But here we are with those characters that are just cute, so you RP them because you don't want to murder things all the time. That's Steve and Angie. All right, I'm really tired. It's Christmas right now for me, so I'm gonna go and not work on Christmas because I also don't want to ruin the holiday like Angie's parents. So yeah, see you guys.